Welcome to Cocktails with Olga. Today's a video that I actually made already twice, but there was lots of noise in the background, so I thought I need to redo it. And it's really difficult to redo something that you've already done, but I'm gonna try nevertheless. So the video I'm doing today is, so about a month ago, I went on a trip with a friend, and you know, it's still COVID time, and I'm making cocktails, so on one side, my friend really wanted to have cocktails with me. On the other side, we were not sure how it's gonna work. So I decided to do some preparation, and we were basically doing cocktails with a minimum equipment and with the minimum stuff available, and we succeeded. And I thought it could be a nice experience to share with you. Now, the first thing you need to do is to prepare. Well, you need to figure out what kind of cocktails you're gonna make, so you know what kind of stuff do you need. And maybe the first important decision you need to make, and that is a decision you also need to make when you're preparing or creating your home bar, is know your poison. Well, poison. Know your alcohol. Which alcohol do you actually prefer? Which one do you think it will be easy to get to the location you're going to, especially if you're flying? So some standard types of alcohol you can think about is whiskey. There are quite some cocktails with whiskey, and if you're a whiskey lover, for sure something to try. It's gin. Gin is extremely popular. Gin you can find nearly everywhere, certainly in most airports. So that's quite a versatile ingredient for cocktails. Rum. Rum is a bit more complicated. You need to figure out if you want to make cocktails with white rum, dark rum, or a mix of those. You've got tequila. Kind of similar story there. There is of course silver tequila, but there are also aged tequilas that can add a really nice flavor to your cocktail. And there is mezcal. It's a whole other story. What else do we have? We have vodka. So vodka is also quite simple to get. You know, the quality is always a bit questionable to me. And there is a cognac or brandy. Pick one. So we picked gin. If you are flying, you've got a few options. You can buy something at the airport and then you can take it with you on the flight, or you can think about where is the country you're going. And if you're going to the Caribbean, then I mean, rum, I wouldn't even go for anything else. You're in a place where rum is appreciated. Lots of places are distilling their own rum, so I would even go and try what they're doing there. Now we went to France. France would be nice with to explore cognacs and brandies, but at the same time, or Calvados. But we were traveling, we were not completely sure the place where we're going will have anything, so we settled for gin and we took it with us. Now I don't have that bottle of gin, but I have an example of rum where you can get quite small bottles. This one is 350 milliliters. It's enough for a few cocktails. So once you picked your alcohol, I would say make a list. And I'm gonna put an example here. So this is how my preparation looked like. I listed all the cocktails I wanted to make. Now I made it more complicated for myself than it had to be, because of course I wanted to do cocktails that I haven't done before, and I had to be really, I created this nightmare of calculating what combination of cocktails I can do with the minimum available ingredients. So I arrived at top 5, and what I've done then, I started to look what kind of alcohol I needed. So gin, my friend was bringing gin. I think it was a Sapphire, but I'm not quite sure. It was a small bottle, and I calculated that the small bottle will be enough for us. And then for the remaining liquors, I also looked what I had available at home, but I didn't want to take all the bottles with me. One exception I'd done is for Angostura, simply because Angostura would be a bit too difficult to do the drops and the dashes. So I thought, you know, it's a small bottle, I will take that anyway. If you're flying and you don't want to bother with that, just pick cocktails without Angostura, or without bitters. But for the other liquors, I found a nice trick. So we got these little bottles that you can typically get for your traveling purposes, for shampoos, tonic, whatever. And we've put alcohol in them. So this one that was remaining, I calculated how much alcohol I need, so it was quite specific. The apricot brandy is still left. So and then I put the little stickers on them to know what is what. And it was quite convenient because you don't need to carry a big bottle, and you make sure that you've got everything you needed. What else do you typically need for your cocktails is some citrus, so lemon and lime, grapefruit sometimes. I would suggest try to get them locally. It's nice to support local shops, local producers. Because of the situation wherein I took with me the limes and the lemons, and also took knife with me then to cut them. Because we were by car and it's a bit of a luxury, I also took this great device that I absolutely love. It saves my life now. It's a juicer. You put half of the citrus here and you squeeze, and you don't need to make your hands dirty. So this is quite convenient, but you don't need to, you know. You just, so for the knife, if you're in a hotel, just go and ask for a knife. In my experience, people are super friendly and will give you something. And then once you've cut it, you just squeeze it with your hands. I've been doing that since the beginning we started making these videos. So I actually purchased this juicer quite recently. So you don't really need it. But another thing that you would be nice to have, but you don't really need it, is a strainer. You don't need it. Strainer is used most of the times to keep the ice and the pulp of the juices inside of your shaker. It gives a better presentation, gives a better flavor, typically better presentation. But if you're just making it at home or on the road, who cares? So I took it with me, but you can do perfectly without it. Jiggle. Jiggle is used to measure quantities. Again, this is nice to have. If you don't have it at home, you can use any other measurement that gives you a shot. And then you do half of it for half a shot, and you equal shot to ounce, and you're covered. If you have like cups for shot, or you have any measuring cups, fine. On a trip, same story. Maybe just buy a shot glass as a souvenir with the place that you're going from, and you're covered. It doesn't go about every single last millimeter. It goes about the general proportion. But then, of course, the biggest question is, before we go into there, one more ingredient that is extremely important and that can be quite complicated is ice. If you travel in America, very often hotels have ice machines, and then you're covered. It's fantastic, it's brilliant. You just go and you get ice when you need it. But in our case, the hotel didn't have that machine. So what do? You go to a bar, you make friends with people working there, and you ask them for some ice. And well, in my experience, they're always keen to give it to you, no questions asked. If you are being very nice, friendly, you thank them and you come back, maybe have a drink, there's gonna be no problem with that. Now, and then the last thing we need to address is the shaker. So when you're on a trip, but also when you're at home and you think like, do I really want it? Do I really need a shaker? I don't want to invest lots of money. Well, we've got you covered. First of all, there are quite some cocktails that you don't need to shake. Cocktails that have only alcohol in them mostly don't need to be shaken. You can just stir them, and then you just need a spoon. Now, again, same story as going to the bar. Very often spoons are available in the hotel rooms, so I would just say, go and get yourself a spoon. As long as you have a glass, you stir it, you're done, you're covered, it's all fine. But let's say you, like me, do want some cocktails that require shaking. And by the way, I wouldn't do on the trip cocktails with eggs. It's just way too much work. And what do you do with the egg yolk? So, two interesting solutions that I found. One is a mason jar. So I've got this one at home, and I took it with me, and we actually used it as a glass, because what we find out is that it's quite small. I didn't check what the content was. I was kind of excited that it's quite small, but in reality it's too small. So this one is too small. Because you also need to put ice and then shake, and that didn't work. But then what I also had is this travel mug. So this is a thermos where I normally put my coffee or tea, and fantastically enough, so let me show it to you. The nice thing is it has quite a large opening, which means you can easily put ice in there. It's quite big. You close it, you shake it. It also has a stopper, which I forgot now to put on. So you shake it, nothing comes in and out. And what is also nice, the travel mugs have this little opening here from which you're supposed to drink, and that works as your filter. So I had some water in there prepared. So what you do, you just strain it in your glass. Done. Sure, the pulp of juices will be there, but you don't mind, do you? It's supposed to be healthy. So if you're just starting to make cocktails and you don't yet want to invest in lots of equipment, this could be a fun replacement. The only problem I have with this is that it's a thermos, so it keeps the temperature, which also means if you don't feel when it's chilled. If you use a Boston shaker, or any other shaker really, you can start feeling when the outside starts to get frosted, and that means that the inside is also cooled down, and probably it's time. Now, this of course has a very different way of distributing temperature inside, so you need to play with it a little bit. The rule of thumb is normally to shake your drinks for about 15 to 20 seconds. Normally 15, what I see. I would shake, yeah, so I would just do it 15 seconds, so you go there, smile, shake while talking to people, and then voila, you're creating a cocktail and you can enjoy it wherever you are, also at home. So what I wanted to share with you, if you want to try to make cocktails, if you want to make a cocktail, you don't need very complicated things. I want to make another series of videos where I talk about how to start building your home bar, because very often when you see videos about cocktails, they require all these crazy ingredients that you might use once and then you're stuck with that bottle for years and years. I've been through that. But that's what we're going to do next time. I hope this was helpful.